Daily trading recap for this Monday, the 22nd of November, 2021. Another day in the red for me, another day in the red for SPY as well. Pretty hard little sell-off here into the close. Dragging along some other big maneuvers. Tesla had a little bit of a pull-off again. Let's see what some of the other fangs are doing. Facebook, yeah. Google, yeah, same kind of thing. Mr. Softy, a little bit of a hard sell-off again. So just watching that all-time high. We did tap all-time highs on the SPY as per usual, but a little bit more of a sell-off this time than usually in last time. So keep an eye on it, as always. Nowhere near. This may be the start of a little bit of more of a trend reversal here that we may see at least some amount of pullback, hopefully, not even hopefully, but potentially closer to maybe like that 450 area, or we just continue to chugga around this 470-ish range for a while, and then continue right along that path of go all-time highs. So ridiculous. One trade for me on the day on ASTR to the short side that I'll get into in a little bit. And again, I'm mentioning a few things, so many things that I could just go into and delve into with my trading on so many different topics and basis points. But I'm mentioning, I just put myself in such a weird kind of situation, a tough situation, because I'm pretty much just taking like one trade a day at this point. And now that I've banned myself from going long, it's becoming, okay, you either get one short trade in and out and you're done. And especially with how I've structured this, I was doing the cash account with the long side, and now, and even, of course, having to use a margin account for shorting. It's just like, I do have two margin accounts to short, so it frees me up 6 trades to go for the week. But even with that too, it's just, I have to put in a lot of conviction, and I have to be very convinced in order to pull that trigger and take that trade. And I certainly don't get fearful with that and be sheepish when I'm actually looking to enter a trade, but getting in at a secondary trade or continuing to look at the market after my first trade is much more harder for me. And I don't think I've ever really done that as I've been under this PDT, because it's just like, okay, well, shoot, I kind of blew my one day trade opportunity today. Well, let's just learn from it and then go on from there. It's, and I knew too in the past, especially when I was early in the trading career, that had I taken a bigger loss or taken a loss initially, I was not really going to be in the right headspace in order to take another trade after that. Sometimes I've done that before. I've actually done it very well. I think my biggest loss and my biggest winner actually came back to back off each other. The same ticker, the same exact pre-market, that I was able to just kind of refocus and then re-slap back in when I saw the opportunity there again. I was able to completely flip that, my biggest loser over, that's a whole other story. But getting into that, how do I continue to go forward in the game plan of who I want to be as a trader? I'll mention GME here, GameStop, in a little bit as well too, that I'm getting paper long, that this, and I'm taking huge size, like 100 shares on GameStop. And of course I go up whatever, 6-7%, and you're up $1,000, right? On a $20,000 position size. And you're just like, okay, wow, that's pretty nice. Whereas compared to normally the position sizes that I'm taking, 6-7% is still like $60, $70 for $1,000 size. If I'm usually slamming it pretty hard, I'm like what I did on ASTR. So just that tough dilemma of end goal. What is the frame of reference that I have for myself? Am I looking to be a profitable trader over 20 years? Or am I looking to make quick money and get exponential right now? Because, of course, it's just so easy to say, oh, all you need is 5%, a 5% winner every single day. If you're trading $20,000 size, that's legit. That's a very nice day's wage for if you're able to get that move somewhere, some way. But then the same thing, too, of, okay, what does your risk become at that point? You obviously have to size your risk profile down to get the risk reward to match that. And what's your win rate going to be on that type of setup? What setup are you trading? What setup has that good enough of a size to continually trade that type of size like that? So there's so many different factors going through my head of continuing what I'm wanting to do and how I want to go about my trading. And I'm certainly just don't want to keep sitting here being frustrated to see all these other people and all these other traders, and they're trading huge size and they're making like little small, like barely even singles of profit-wise percentage trades. It's just like, okay, well, they're making $1,000, and it's like, yeah, I want to do that, and that's like, I can kind of see that trade, but I can't do that with my small account. But in the same light of, I know eventually that my goal of right now where I'm sitting at is I'm trying to accrue more and more cash so I can just bump myself above PDT and just plug and play into the current strategy that I have for bigger position sizes. Because trying to just convince myself that I'm growing this account now and I'm going to be able to grow what I have now into a beyond 25K setup is certainly a nice goal, and it's fun to think about, but it's also monumental. The odds are absolutely 100% stacked against me in that regard. And certainly, I'm not trying to say that I'm not up for it, but there's so much more easier ways and just different avenues to tackle that. So, long-winded introduction that is not really just me blabbering and brainstorming, trying to figure something out in that way, but I'm continue going to hammer it, continue to ask questions about it and challenge my current way of thinking and how I'm going about doing these types of things, and still pretty scatterbrained, as is obvious at the moment. But let's get into market internals for dollar volume at the moment. Just for reference for me, we are 20 minutes after the close here. NASDAQ, $316 billion volume. NYSE, $308 billion volume. Good to see NASDAQ small cappers above the NYSE as of right now. OTC is $2.2 billion volume. Pretty hard drop off or separation distance than what we normally see between OTCs and listed tickers for dollar volume today. But maybe the winter months will heat those back up again. Some crazy movers out there to talk about on LGVN and GTech as well, but I'll mention ISPC first. It's the first one on my little journal list here. Thought we were going to get something pretty similar to GTech. And I'll mention GTech with LGVN today a little bit later, but I thought this was going to kind of end up being perfectly similar to what we saw out of GTech last week, where you just kind of get, it's not an immediate spike after a news release, after whenever pre-market opens. It's just kind of like, okay, nice continual growth, holding decently well above VWAP, tries to fake out here, but rebounds, continues to respect that VWAP line, and kind of exhausts here at this point for pre, which would be 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Pulls back a little bit harder to VWAP, or pretty nicely to VWAP, but continues to snug along it. Then finally, dips under. It's just like, okay, we're under VWAP now, not panicking, not going crazy, and then just continues to kind of reverse and press, and all the shorts, similar mindset along me that I wasn't in this one, but looking for that failure to maintain VWAP as a sign for the reversal of the trend. Got a little bit squeeze, a little bit squoze in pre-market especially too. More volume coming in, and then market hours just does whatever it wants. So I thought we were going to see something similar to that on ASPC today. So was watching heavily for that. And gosh, if it did that, I probably would have been very tempted to break this little band I put myself on for going long in the moment. For the kind of the same thing that we were getting these, little exhaustive, squeezy pushes, but respecting VWAP the whole way. Nice little consecutive, drawn out, growing of the price action continually to the upside. Lots of opportunity for Ross from Warrior Training to just continue to slap new high of days and hold it decently comfortably. You get another big squeeze here. But this, kind of just went away. Whatever probability that was that this would have worked out exactly mirror to what GTech did on that day. It was very low probability, and obviously, or probably would have gotten pretty played with a lot of other people trying to go on that same thesis. But then it's just totally just one where, okay, you do whatever you want. 2.4 million floater. The borrow fees on this one too were absolutely ridiculous. 87 cents a share, just through Trade Zero. Absolutely ludicrous. Because I would have had to have gotten 100 shares as a minimum to reserve those, and $87. No, thank you. So let it do whatever it wants to do. I think Jack number 2, number 7 was getting short within this first 2 minutes into the down halt. And after that halt, we get squeezed to the upside again. Just loopy Willy Wonka. I will have no part of it. And I know a few other guys too. And even myself are just this thing still has the potential to squeeze, especially with how it's holding over VWAP. Still a little bit of morning volatility left in it, but it's just okay, now we're going here. We're still holding this range. Okay, now we're dumping, but we're still respecting VWAP. Okay, fake out here, but we're getting bought back up again. Okay, another fake out, but a perfect bottom here again, but getting back to the upside of VWAP. Just mind-numbing and so stupid to be a part of. But you gotta respect it. There's opportunity here, but definitely other opportunity that appeases my mind at least a little bit better than ISPC. ASTR we'll get into now, my trader on the day. And this one, again, the same idea with ISPC kind of mirroring off of GTech. I thought we were going to see the same thing on KZR that I traded shorts that we would have seen in ASTR today. So KZR on last week, Tuesday, this was earnings play and happened after the close of the previous trading day on that Monday, and it had a lot more time for any bag holders or any longs to get out of this one, liquidate themselves at nice, comfortable prices with a very nice, almost close to 100% move there in that after hours. And then just continual dying, bleeding into the market open, trying to come above VWAP, but then just rejecting off, continuing to drop lower. VWAP, though, on this one, which I would categorize as the only real difference in just feel and chart-wise between KZR and ASTR. Obviously, far different news catalysts, sectors, and float, just profiles of the stocks themselves. But obviously, hard rejects at VWAP, but still liking finding a base around that $12 level area. It was funny that these exact prices were kind of the same thing. $12 level holding pretty nicely, which is attracting in some longs, like Chris as well, who actually said he had a nice trade on this one to long side, just a little long one, basing the trade off of little bottom at that $12 level area. And he got out. I don't remember where he got out, but just a little trade there. But that's the kind of thesis I want to go on to, and especially if they're getting more Twitter pumps into this thing, saying, hey, it's forming a nice base. These guys have just gone to the moon, right? This is a 87 million floater company. They American space company. The news was today that they reached orbit in under 10 minutes with their first commercial orbit launch out of Alaska, which is pretty insane. But great news to that effect too. But it's not like I want space to be a hot sector, but it just hasn't really happened yet. And I think Virgin Galactic kind of dumping off pretty hard has not really helped that cause. I thought that was going to be one of the new hot sectors, but it is not. So again, basing this trade today kind of similar to what it did on KZR on that last week Tuesday, of really not looking to be so hardly precise on these ones, but just trying to identify, okay, there could be a lot of just long bag holders looking for any amount of perk to sell into, not very convicted, not very just hardly bag holder longs, but just like, okay, hey, I think, following along the same line that Chris was today, that like, okay, I think there could be an opportunity here, but if it doesn't come, I'm just going to be easy and quick to cut. And this thing I want to see that, the same thing on KZR that happened on that Tuesday, just long drawn out, and that type of volume that comes in on these ones is able to just continue to slowly bleed them away. It's not like a hard panic. That first minute, this window of kind of like 5 minutes before the open and 5 minutes after the open is kind of the real indicator of, we want to see some hard action going, the volume coming through, and that's going to be the real testament for the day of where this thing could potentially go. If it's just huge amount of overhead saying, no, we're not going any higher, it's just continuing to go down, that's a good sign that, okay, we could get some nice price action to continue to dump this thing. Versus what happened today where, after my entries here, all of a sudden crazily in this 9:25 minute, just huge kind of volume comes in. Just no real like bid support, no real slapping of the ass, but just all of a sudden we're back at 12.3. We're just falling off, 12.10. I'm actually finishing out. I was reserving, this was 100 shares that I had. It started in at like 25 on this one. Thought we were going to break like 12.10, but we didn't, so I said whatever. Well, I was actually watching it around 12.26, saying, okay, if it doesn't go any higher, I want to start getting short here. Looked away at a few other charts while I was doing my scans, and then saw it down at 12.10. I was like, oh shoot, okay, I got to get 12.10, at least start with 25 shares. But held there at 12.10. We tapped again to 12.4, this little regional high here. Got shares at 12.35 as it pulled off of that with nice little volume. Again at 12.3 as it tried to maybe bounce off of that. Got another 25 shares filled there. And then we started to peel, and I thought we were going to continue that same thing like KZR, just even break that $12 mark before market open. And it was like we printed 12.10 on the bid. I didn't see what it did on the time and sales, and then just completely reversed. Not like crazy amount of volume, not like it was showing true hard strength, but it was just like, okay, we're going up now. I just don't know. Help me, help. So I was like, okay, well, I didn't want to throw in the towel and just completely give up at that point. But, that Sykes line was reminiscent in my head running through of, if you don't know what's happening, if you're not comfortable in it, then just get out. It's far better to be on the sidelines than to be in it wishing you were on the sidelines. But in the same light too of, let's see what happens. It's $1,000 position size. It's not like I'm crazy overblown, but I'm here for the experience. I'm here to learn. I know I'm kind of in the wrong and I'm kind of playing with fire at this point, but kind of here for the experience as well too. I want to put my hand on that fire a few times to understand the reasons why we don't do this, or what truly is an indicator to get out at this point. So now I can look back at these ones and say, okay, yeah, it was breaking this little 12.4 high. I'm eyeing other little regional highs here. Maybe this 12.55 area as a point of potential resistance, or maybe this little bottom, call it 12.80 as point of resistance as well. If any of those little technical lines want to act as resistance, at least within the first few minutes of market open. Pairing off of some of the research that I've done on my past little shorts here, that most of them, if not all of them, will follow along for some reason, some lines of where potential short entries would be in the pre-market. And I think that reflects more when there's more opportunity closer to market open versus when pre-market opens, when the spike comes. But that's just a little bit of based off of some of the research that I've been doing, some my own data collecting and feeling out there. But as we get to market open, then my trade zero and my charts are kind of just like in that little, okay, a lot of data coming through. We're a little bit slow as of right now. It's just that like 5-second window almost that it just kind of halts and freezes. And I'm going, okay, what's happening? What's going on? Trying to watch a level 2 time and sales, see, where we're looking. I'm still dealing with the little perk we had into the open, and I'm seeing bid support stack up, and we're now coming to 12.7. And I'm going, okay, get me out. I do not want to be a part of this squeeze. Another lesson again too, and I knew that, okay, it's that morning volatility. You got to be able to sit through it. If I've got a position from pre-markets, I've got to be willing to just not touch it really for that first minute of market open, and maybe even that second minute of market open, because it is just so volatile, and there really is no true hard trend in that first minute for most of these. It's just such a general statement, but totally got faked out within that first minute of market open. And then off the back of what I just said earlier, of rather glad to be out of it and kind of screwed over for the loss I had to take on this one. If it did just immediately start to reverse, I thought it was breaking a new low here. I thought it was going to actually work out really nicely, but would have ended up stopping me out anyway, as it broke to a new high from there after that first minute, a new high of that first minute during market hours. And just had this little morning volatility, pulls back, tried to make another top here, but failed to even come close. That's another shorting opportunity. Again, a failure at VWAP here at this, that would be 10.25 area, and just dying, bleeding the whole rest of the day. Another chart that it's closing lower than what my entry was. It's just how many of these, it's more research that I got to do on these ones that I don't want to be a bag holder. I don't want to have to take on huge, crazy risk in order to just improve my win rate and just to see a almost less than 1-to-1 risk reward at times. But pairing off of that, I'm using the word pairing a lot in this video, but I certainly think we would have had a lot more pullback if we did not have any of this morning volatility. I think if it was just a straight kind of dump, I think we would have seen far lower prices than just $11 today from where we gapped it up after the previous trading day's close there. But just it is what it is. Cutting losses quickly again and again, but going to have to learn to adjust to what the market is telling me. Can I avoid the bag holderness and just wait a little bit till after that morning volatility, like maybe a trade like this would have been, of looking for tops, kind of a toppy attempt here that just fails, and okay, that's a nice little trade, 13.4, this little block to now 12.6. Decent little move there, and it's not beautiful, it's not crazy awesome, but that's a nice little predictable trade there, just getting yourself out of the way of any of that little morning volatility, especially when a lot of the attention is on the ISPCs, and even though those may have been halted a few times and people may have looked their attention the other way to other tickers, but there was a few more other opportunities that just didn't have to be the main focus on the day, that drew in that retail trader, the sketchy emotional money, the cheap emotional money, I should say. But it is what it is. It's another loss, and I continue to have to learn from it, of just how I'm trading these, I wanted to grade myself for the idea on this trade as an F, because it did not do anywhere close to what I wanted it to do or what I thought it was going to do. But then in hindsight, pulling up this chart at the end of the day, it kind of did. It's closing lower than where my entry was, than where it opened. These things are just meant to die. And intraday, they offer an opportunity to get short. It's just about, okay, when and freaking where, and what do I have to hold through in order to see that? So yeah, and this is another breakdown that I wrote in my journal as well. I thought it was more of an IPO that it showed through scans. It didn't have that much of a history, but 424B3s that were out had like 30 million shares, a $9 area. So I thought there was going to be a little bit more of resistance or overhead with those on the ticket. And yeah, that's all I hit. That's all I've written for this one. Let's get into LGVN now, though. Man, absolutely insane. Going to 39 here in the close. This daily is pretty ludicrous. On not a lot of volume. It's just, we had this first really nice green day, gaps higher, but then kind of look for the red day. And then now there's an awesome trade actually for first red day continuation. I know Jack number 2 had some short, and a few others had a few short. And as I was in the morning nest here, you can still see it's downtrending into market open. You get a little tiny perk here within that second minute, a nice little short getting around 9.2, but just a great lesson. And yeah, covering around, even if you're sitting till 8.4, even getting within this minute, just a little above 8.4 there. Nice little point, but a great mention to show you do not get greedy, because how many other traders were thinking the exact same thing and thinking they were holding for a nice little continuation of that first red day. Oh, this trade's over. It's going to be a nice little hold. And then they get slapped. And this thing continues to hold VWAP, continues to break to new high, spike around, give you little hits and signs like, oh, okay, it's breaking. Now we're under VWAP here on this candle, but it's still holding here. We're still above VWAP. Nice little shove, break to the upside of VWAP, but it's not strong. It's not that great. It's not that awesome. It's still just kind of lingering, but still, yet again, higher lows continuing to press that high of day. And how many shorts could have bagged in this one with the same thesis of, oh, it's up way too much. It's not that much volume. It can't reverse that hard on this day. It's just so many can'ts, so many it's up too much type of theses. And sometimes that's the reason why these things go absolutely crazy. And pairing that with along to that it's also short sale restricted. It's a holiday week. Absolutely berserk. And a great testament to that what I've not been focusing on is the afternoon trades. I've just kind of really been taking the afternoons off. I don't even do any amount of trading really much after first hour and a half of market open. I'm really done pushing the trigger, pulling up charts. But these may be some charts that end up pulling me back in again to start looking for the VWAP hold traders, to start looking for these little curlers, finding the entries around here with volume that push the upside, push closer to a new high of day after a nice consolidation there. So many of those on this chart today, and so many different ways to break this down, this chart. GTech I mentioned as well. This thing kind of followed along similarly to it, maybe a little bit laggardish. In the afternoon, kind of realized, okay, hey, we're kind of similar to this chart. We should also follow along with this one. So nowhere near the same percentage move, but kind of following along as it's maybe a little bit of a sympathy play, or trying to be a sympathy play. It's just a little brother that wants to be there, and it's just happy to be there for GTech. But that is all I wanted to mention on that one. And then GameStop, last mention for me. Paper trade, like I mentioned in the introduction, 100 shares that I got, pulling it up from over the weekend, looking at the scanners. Man, this was curling nicely, not anywhere near the crazy volume that we had at the start of the year. We're getting closer to that same time frame, especially into the winter months when a lot of people are home. They got nothing else to do. Let's check out my GameStop. Let's start trading GameStop up again. And man, this thing and AMC have been holding very nicely. EXPR following along also a little bit today. I'm kind of perking a little bit, not really following along chart-wise with the same thing that these are doing, but holy wedge city. These things could be absolutely ludicrous if they continue to hold, let's go back to GME. If they continue, I don't expect GameStop to continue this same body of candles, types of price actions of days, but this is certainly going to be a longer hold for me. Earnings coming up a little after the start of December here on the 7th. I don't think that's going to affect the price at all, but just looking at it as a potential catalyst for more interest to be placed on this ticker. Not to trade it on actual earnings by any means, but that is all I had. This is a freaking grind, I tell you what, but I so do love it every single day, and I so am sincerely grateful for each and every one of you that watch this. I just want to rephrase for myself too, that I continue to use these video recaps as a journal for myself, for me to get out my thoughts, to continue to verbalize everything that I'm seeing and just have a means to express that easier and a little bit quicker than just trying to write everything down. And just easier to pull back up, and also have the charts paired along with it too, and go hard in depth into what I'm seeing on these charts. But I do get sometimes nice little feedback from the community, and being able to do that, I hope in the future as well too. I know when I'm far down the road, 5 years, that being able to have all of this data, it's every single day to look back upon and use as reference to say, look how terrible I was. Like, this is where I came from. I had like 38 red days in a row. I never had one green day. So you can make it too. So that's everything that I'm going towards, and keeping the big picture in perspective as always. But it is a freaking grind, I tell you what. I sincerely thank you guys for watching. We will catch you guys on the next one.